Good evening. Welcome to the Caitanya-caritāmṛta readings and discussions with the Srila Prabhupada's Disciples Association on a Wednesday night. From Canada, it's 8 p.m. at night. The day has been flying by. We've had so many guests that came over for prasadam and chanting. And quite blissful, I must say. Even if it's a small scale, it's better than no scale. And this is the idea of devotional life, of preaching work, that even Prabhupada had this experience that no one was attending his classes, but he would advise us to just preach to the walls. So, it's of course much better if people do come to the programs and share their association with us and relish the pastimes of Prabhupada in the early years of his preaching work in forming the ISKCON movement, which is very important for everyone to understand, because then you can connect the dots on how Krishna consciousness unfolded and how you fit in terms of your relationship with Prabhupada, and how you can participate moving forward in the preaching work that we've undertaken to protect the legacy of Srila Prabhupada, which has been, let's put it this way, minimized by others. This is not a good thing. It's actually, for many of us, very disturbing. We may be speaking calmly, but we're enraged with the fact that Prabhupada has been minimized. In fact, so much so that even if you go ahead and present yourself as a Prabhupada disciple, you're shunned by other people. But Krishna has his plan. Prabhupada has his plan. And Krishna and Prabhupada are working with us. There are lots of different groups. We're going to be writing an article. It was prompted by Bhaktivedanta Singh. I was speaking to him the other day. He asked me, what is the difference between this group and all these other so-called, and I'm going to use the term just for a reference here, Ritvik groups, because there are many different other groups that are operating publicly since Prabhupada's departure. So you have Madhu Pandit's a group, you have Krishna Consciousness group, you have all these different ISKCON guru types with their own groups. You have all different types of individuals that are using religious principles in order to establish themselves as some kind of leaders or organizers of their own institutions. We have this fellow in England, Purujit. I listened to his lecture the other day. It was quite interesting. So there is a difference between us and them, and we're not going to go over that right now, but we're planning an essay for that. And we would like other people to be involved with these projects that we're undertaking, like the Vyas Puja offerings that we're asking all of our members to add to our book, the Vyas Puja book that we're compiling for 2023. And it'll have introductory articles as well at the beginning of the Vyas Puja book, where we're explaining different parts of this philosophy to help people understand how Prabhupada is still living in his Vani incarnation, and we're accepting Srila Prabhupada as our guru, as a Diksha and Shiksha guru for all of us. Because Prabhupada did demonstrate by his work in the early years the greatness of His Divine Grace. And right now we're reading from the beginning of the Sankirtan movement by Srila Prabhupada. And we're on June 22nd, 1966. Now, I've been studying about the project. Yes, thank you. We're going to see as we move ahead that Prabhupada runs into trouble with this Paul Murray. And as a result, there'll be minimal, we'll end with that section here, there'll be minimal notes in his diary when that period comes up, because he's in a stage of transition, moving out of the Bowery into 26 2nd Avenue. So in that interim period, he stayed at a devotee's house, Carl, an apartment with his wife. And they had animals and pets with them. And Prabhupada had to put up with some severe difficulty in order to make the transition from the Bowery to Matchless Gifts. So on Wednesday, June 22nd, 1966, the sunrise was at 4:32 a.m. The sunset was 7:33 p.m. and the moonset was 11:08 Panchami. Today, Paul was paid $225 for expenses, withdrawn from the bank $65 and sent to the landlady $100 by MO check. Commission paid 25 cents. Theosophical Lodge at 347 East 72nd 2nd Street kept one set of books on approval. My phone number, 226-4327. Given to them. So Prabhupada's working with a phone now. How exciting. They will inform after consulting Madame Wadia of Bombay, who is now at New York. Bus fare was 30 cents. No letters received today. Institute of Religions and Social Studies at Broadway. 122 St. Junction, 6th floor, invited me to see at 10:30 a.m. with books. In the evening, there was a meeting. The attendance was 11, but the collection was only $7.50. Book collection was $1. So the total was $85. The expenditure was $225, $35, 25 cents, 30 cents. And the total expenditures was $37.80. No net figure today. Obviously, it's in the negative. Thursday, June 23rd, 1966. Sunrise, 4:32 a.m., sunset, 7:33 p.m., moonsets, 11:37, Shasti. Today, one of the books deposited with the director of the Institute of Religions and Social Studies, Broadway, and 122nd Street Junction. It is settled that the director will directly deposit the value in the bank. Subway and bus fare was 45 cents. Mike proposed to become a Vaishnava and married with his girlfriend. Okay, so that's Mukunda, Michael Grant. Today, while I was about to go to Carl's place, Paul implored me that if required, he would go away this loft of mine. I was placed here all these from the young men. I was pleased to hear all these from the young boy. So I stopped leaving of this place. Carl took the trouble of bringing back my bags. So it appears that Prabhupada's left. He stayed at Carl's and now he's gone back to the loft because of an incident with Paul Murray doing LSD. On Friday, the 27th of June, sunrise was 4:32 a.m., sunset was 7:33 p.m., the moonset, Saptami. Today, I applied for the post box. One letter posted to Brahmachari Mangala Niloy, deprecating his views that talk of cooperation could be raised only after his coming in this country. In the morning, I saw Mike's loft. Okay, so that's Mike Grant again, Mukunda, eventually. Paul appears to be a little changed. In the evening, there was a meeting, and the attendance is about 12, and the contribution was only $6.40. Book collection was only $1, and Mr. Grant took one set of books. He desires to pay gradually. In the evening, I paid Paul $1 for expenditure, so the income was $7.40, expenditure was $1, and Dr. Risha informed about my tooth sticks. Even those little details. Prabhupada's so astute, Balaramji in Australia. And the last section, we'll go to this last page. Did I send it to you, Vinkat? Saturday, June 25th? Okay, so not much those days. If you look here, you'll see, well, you can't really see it. I'll post it up, and we'll carry on with the reading at our next reading and discussion on Saturday morning, Bhagavad Gita. Now we'll carry on with the Caitanya-caritāmṛta reading and discussion with His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Muspat Paramahansa Parivrajaga-ācārya Sattvaresvara Samad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai Nāma-ācārya Sri Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktamani ki Jai Sri Radha Krishna Mokh Bhavanath Sam Khanda Radha Khanda Giri Godan ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai नवदीप धाम की जाए, गंगा माई की जाए, जमुना माई की जाए, न्यू द्वारका धाम की जाए, स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जाए। ऑल ग्लोरी टू देयर समिति, ऑल ग्लोरी टू देयर समिति। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I do offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskritya, Narayanam namaskritya, Naram cheva narottamam, Naram cheva narottamam, Devim saraswatim vyasam, Devim saraswatim vyasam, Tato jayam mudirayat, Tato jayam mudirayat. One should offer the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Welcome everyone to this reading of Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. Today we will be reading from Adi Lila, chapter number 4. First, we'll be reading a few verses from the chapter 1, text 18 to 22. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Caitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Etina Thakur Gaudiya ke Karye Chena Yatmasat, Etinera Charana Vandan Tire Morenat. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Text 20. Garante Rarambikari Mangala Acharana, Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I've invoked their benedictions. Tinera Smaranayai Vignavinashana, Anayasayai Nijavanchita Purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Se Mangala Charanai Trivida Prakar Vasunirdesha Shiravada Namaskara. The invocation involved 3 processes: defining the objective, offering benediction, and offering obeisances. Again, we welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. We are now reading from the Adi Lila chapter 4. All translations, transliterations, synonyms, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. We are now reading the Prabhupada's introduction to this chapter. In this chapter of the epic Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has stressed that Lord Chaitanya appeared for three principal purposes of his own. The first purpose was to relish the position of Srimati Radharani, who is the prime reciprocator of transcendental love of Sri Krishna. Lord Krishna is the reservoir of transcendental loving transactions with Srimati Radharani. The subject of those loving transactions is the Lord himself, and Radharani is the object. Thus, the subject, the Lord, wanted to relish the loving mellow in the position of the object, Radharani. The second reason for his appearance was to understand the transcendental mellow of himself. Lord Krishna is all sweetness. Radharani's attraction for Krishna is sublime, and to experience that attraction and understand the transcendental sweetness of himself, he accepted the mentality of Radharani. The third reason that Lord Chaitanya appeared was to enjoy the bliss tasted by Radharani. The Lord thought that undoubtedly Radharani enjoyed his company, and he enjoyed the company of Radharani. But the exchange of transcendental mellow between the spiritual couple was more pleasing to Srimati Radharani than to Sri Krishna. Radharani felt more transcendental pleasure in the company of Krishna than he could understand without taking her position. But for Sri Krishna to enjoy in the position of Srimati Radharani was impossible, because that position was completely foreign to him. Krishna is the transcendental male, and Radharani is the transcendental female. Therefore, to know the transcendental pleasure of loving Krishna, Lord Krishna himself appeared as Lord Chaitanya, accepting the emotions and bodily luster of Srimati Radharani. Lord Chaitanya appeared to fulfill these confidential desires and also to preach the special significance of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and to answer the call of Advaita Prabhu. These were secondary reasons. Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami was the principal figure amongst Lord Chaitanya's confidential devotees. The records of his diary have revealed these confidential purposes of the Lord. These revelations have been confirmed by the statements of Srila Rupa Goswami in his various prayers and poems. This chapter also specifically describes the difference between lust and love. The transaction of Krishna and Radha are completely different from material lust. Therefore, the author has very clearly distinguished between them. Sri Caitanya prasadena tadrupasya vinirnayam balopi kurute shastram drishtva brajya vilasinaha. Sri Caitanya prasadena, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Tat of him, Rupasya of the form, Vinirnayam complete determination, Balaha a child, Api even, Kurute makes, Shastram the revealed scriptures, Drishtva having seen, Vrajavilasinaham who enjoys the pastimes of Vraja. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. By the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even a foolish child can fully describe the real nature of Lord Krishna, the enjoyer of the pastimes of Vraja. according to the vision of the revealed scriptures. Purport. One can ascertain the meaning of this Sanskrit shloka only when one is endowed with the causeless mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Sri Krishna, being the absolute personality of Godhead, cannot be exposed to the mundane instruments of vision. He reserved the right not to be exposed by the intellectual feats of non-devotees. Notwithstanding this truth, even a small child can easily understand Lord Sri Krishna and his transcendental pastimes in the land of Vrindavana by the grace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text number 2. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai, all glory, Sri Chaitanya, to Lord Chaitanya. Jai, all glory, Nityananda, to Lord Nityananda. Jai, all glories, Advaita Chandra, to Advaita Ācārya. Jai, all glories, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, to the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Translation. All glory to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glory to Lord Nityananda. All glory to Sri Advaita Ācārya. And all glory to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Chaturta shlokerarta kaila vivaran. Panchama shlokerarta shuni bhaktagan, chaturta, fourth, shlokera of the verse, artha, the meaning, kaila, made, vivarana, description, panchama, fifth, shlokera of the verse, artha, the meaning, shuna, please hear, Bhaktagana, O devotees. Translation. I have described the meaning of the fourth verse. Now, O devotees, kindly hear the explanation of the fifth verse. Text number 4. Mula shlokera artha karite prakasha, artha logoete age kahiya abhasha. Mula, original. Shlokera of the verse, artha, the meaning, karite, to make, prakasha, revelation, artha, the meaning, lagaite, to touch, age, first, kahiye, I shall speak, abhasha, hint. Translation. Just to explain the original verse, I shall first suggest its meaning. Text number 5. Chaturta shlokera artha ekailasar, premanama pracharite avatar. Chaturta, fourth, shlokera of the verse, artha, the meaning, this, kaila, gave, sara, essence, Prema, love of Godhead. Nama, the holy name. Prachariti, to propagate. This. Avatara, incarnation. Translation. I have given the essential meaning of the fourth verse. This incarnation descends to propagate the chanting of the holy name and spread love of God. Text number 6. Satya eyetu kintu eko bahiranga, areka etu shuna achi antaranga. Satya, true. This. Hetu, reason. Kintu, but. Eho, this. Bahiranga, external. Ara, another. Eka, one. Hetu, reason. Shuna, please hear. Ache, is. antaranga, internal. Translation. Although this is true, this is but the external reason for the Lord's incarnation. Please hear one other reason, the confidential reason for the Lord's appearance. Purport. In the 3rd chapter, 4th verse, it has been clearly said that Lord Chaitanya appeared to distribute love of Krishna and the chanting of his transcendental holy name, Hare Krishna. That was the secondary purpose of Lord Chaitanya's appearance. The real reason is different, as we shall see in this chapter. Text number 7. Purveyena prativita bhara haribari Krishna avatirno ela shastrete prachari. Purve, previously, yena, as, pritivira, of the earth, bhara, burden, haribare, to take away, Krishna, Lord Krishna, avatirna, incarnated, oela, was, shastrete, the scriptures, prachare, proclaim. Translation. The scriptures proclaim that Lord Krishna previously descended to take away the burden of the earth. Text number 8. Swayam Bhagavanera Karmana he Bharaharan Stiti Karta Vishnu Karena Jagat Palana. Swayam Bhagavanera, of the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Karma, the business. Nahe, is not. Bharaharana, taking away the burden. Stiti Karta, the maintainer. Vishnu, Lord Vishnu. Karena, does. Jagat Palana, protection of the universe. To take away this burden, however, is not the work of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The maintainer, Lord Vishnu, is the one who protects the universe. Text number 9. Kintu Krishnarye ayavatar kala bharaharana kala toite hoela mishala. Kintu, but, Krishnera, of Lord Krishna, ye, that which, haya, is, avatara, of incarnation, kala, the time, bharaharana, of taking away the burden, kala, the time, tate, in that, oila, there was, mishala, mixture. Translation. But the time to lift the burden of the world mixed with the time for Lord Krishna's incarnation. Purport. We have information from Bhagavad Gita that the Lord appears at particular intervals to adjust a time-worn spiritual culture. Lord Sri Krishna appeared at the end of Dwapara Yuga to regenerate the spiritual culture of human society and also to manifest his transcendental pastimes. Vishnu is the authorized Lord who maintains the created cosmos, and he is also the principal deity who makes adjustments for improper administration in the cosmic creation. Sri Krishna is the primeval Lord, and he appears not to make such administrative adjustments, but only to exhibit his transcendental pastimes, and thus attract the fallen souls back home, back to Godhead. However, the time for administrative rectification and the time for Lord Sri Krishna's appearance coincided at the end of the last Dwapara Yuga. Therefore, when Sri Krishna appeared, Vishnu, the Lord of Maintenance, also merged in him, because all the plenary portions and parts of the absolute personality of Godhead merge in him during his appearance. Text number 10. Purna Bhagavan avatare ye kale, ar sabha avatara tanhe yoshimile, Purna, full. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Avatare, incarnates. Ye, that. Kale, at the time. Ara, other. Sabha, all. Avatara, incarnations. Tante, in him. Asi, coming. Mile, meet. Translation. When the complete Supreme Personality of Godhead descends, all other incarnations of the Lord meet to get together within him. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, who has opened our eyes from the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyayam Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshatah. Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayati Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaham Adadhanastrinam Danteridam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimadrupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Rup Sanatana Bhatta Raghunata Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunata. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here we see that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is starting to describe the confidential reason for Lord Chaitanya's appearance. This is very important because we have seen throughout the first 3 chapters of the Adi-lila of Caitanya-caritāmṛta that there are many descriptions about the evidence of Lord Chaitanya's divinity, of his transcendental divine position. We've also heard from Caitanya-caritāmṛta and Srila Prabhupada that when Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, while they were employed in the government of Hussain Shah, the Muslim governor of Bengal, that they met Lord Chaitanya in Ramakeli. At that time, Rupa Goswami expressed his conclusive judgment, Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate, that I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. You have come to deliver Krishna Prema Pradayate, causeless love of Krishna. Now, this is an important point, because in various incarnations, Lord Krishna comes to kill demons and also to spread, to reestablish Dharma, Dharma Samstapanartaya. But in this particular incarnation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes and he delivers love of Godhead. Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya, you have come in a form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and you deliver the name of Krishna. Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. Now this is a very important point. Every day we recite these prayers, this particular prayer when we offer bhoga to the deities. But this has very deep meaning for the essential reason for the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because we know that Lord Chaitanya came in 1486 AD. He appeared in West Bengal in Mayapur. And throughout his 48 years on earth, he spread the Sankirtan movement. But Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is now entering into a new explanation, a deeper explanation of the real meaning of his appearance. This is quite significant because in the beginning, it is described in text number 8, to take away this burden, however, is not the work of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The maintainer, Lord Vishnu, is the one who protects the universe. In text number 9, but the time to lift the burden of the world mixed with the time of Lord Krishna's incarnation. So Prabhupada was once asked in Australia, when does Lord Krishna himself come? And Prabhupada described that Lord Krishna comes once in the day of Lord Brahma. Now we know from Bhagavad Gita that one day of Lord Brahma is 1,000 times. Sahasra yuga paryantam aharyat brahmano viduhu. The 1,000 cycle of yugas, of these Chatur yugas, Kali Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Satya Yuga, that makes 4,320,000 years. Multiply that by 1,000. So that is 4,300,000,000 years or so. Same for one of Lord Brahma's nights, like 8 billion years. Prabhupada explained that Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna comes once in the day of Lord Brahma. So this is very special because there are many incarnations during that time. Many Manu avatars, many different kind of avatars come. But the direct manifestation of Sri Krishna himself, that is once in 8,300,000,000 years or so. And Lord Chaitanya comes once during that time. So this is actually a very special time that we are born in. We have taken birth during the time that Lord Sri Krishna and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has invented himself. But this is not easy to understand for those who are bereft of the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We see in many places in Caitanya-caritāmṛta where Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami will describe what is the benefit of getting the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. For example, in this particular chapter, text number 1, Sri Chaitanya prasadena tadrupasya vinirnayam bhalopi kurute shastram drishva braja vilasinaha. By the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even a foolish child can fully describe the real nature of Lord Krishna, the enjoyer of the pastimes of Vraja, according to the vision of the revealed scriptures. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first went to Jagannath Puri, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya saw that he had fainted in front of Lord Jagannath. And he could immediately understand that this person is not an ordinary person or a regular sadhu. So he arranged to have him taken to his residence, and the Caitanya-caritāmṛta describes a conversation which took place between some of the followers of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya before he was converted by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and one of the associates of Lord Chaitanya. Now, it's important because this associate of Lord Chaitanya was quoting different scriptural evidence establishing the divinity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the followers of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya started to argue that how can you give these different evidences? Because they have these standard arguments that Lord Krishna does not appear in Kali Yuga. He's named as Triyuga. And one of the replies of this Gopinath Acharya, the follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was that you will understand the position of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he bestows his mercy upon you. Otherwise, it is not possible to understand. And we see during the manifested presence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he gave his mercy very, very kindly to everybody, to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in Varanasi, to Prakashananda Saraswati, to so many other scholars who debated with him, to so many other persons who came in contact with the divine presence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is quite unique, very unique. We see that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami will describe later on in Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta that the mercy of Lord Chaitanya is available to everyone, even those that were logicians, impersonalists, grammarians, agnostics. He distributed his mercy to everyone. It's quite significant because in the Upanishads, there are descriptions that the mercy of the Lord is not available, even though one may be the most intelligent materially. Namedhaya, or whether one is a big Vedic scholar, expert in Sanskrit. Nabahuna Shrutena, whether one is a Chaturvedi, he studied all the 4 Vedas in detail. No, only when the Supreme Atma chooses to reveal himself can one understand the nature of Krishna. Same for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we've seen during our manifested lifetime, in a very short time, our Srila Prabhupada, the foremost representative of Lord Chaitanya, came to present, to distribute that mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Now, not everybody appreciated. Just like when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was preaching, there were some people who raised objections, even when he was in Navadvip. Some of his fellow students started to argue with him because he was chanting the name of the gopis. They argued with him. They derided him. Some grammarians, some logicians, they also did not care for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the same way, when Srila Prabhupada came, there are many persons who were considered themselves followers of Vedic culture, followers of so-called Hindu Dharma, followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Many of them did not care so much for Srila Prabhupada and his preaching. Although it was visible to everyone, not everyone understood. Not everybody understood. We see in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta how Krishnadas Kaviraj is warning devotees not to misunderstand the position of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We see that many confidential devotees like Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, they have written many wonderful verses praising the qualities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was converted, he compiled 108 names of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Sanskrit. Sri Caitanya Ashtotara Shatanama. Very wonderful, wonderful description of the unique position of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's also 2 special verses that were composed. They were hidden under a roof of a hut, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discovered them. These verses by Rupa Goswami describe the nature of the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga, that he has come to teach Vairagya Vidya, transcendental knowledge and detachment, and to spread the love of Krishna. There's so many nectarian verses composed by great acharyas like Kavi Karnapur, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So much transcendental nectar from the associates of Lord Chaitanya to reveal and explain that supreme position and why he came to this planet. We could have been born at other times, in another yuga, in another situation, but it is our good fortune that by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we're able to take part in this divine transcendental Leela of Srila Prabhupada to spread the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. When I came from America in 1992 to Badger, California, there was one devotee, Madhudvisa, the original Madhudvisa, who had been in Australia for many years. He had been originally in San Francisco. Srila Prabhupada gave him sannyas in 1970 in July. And there was a very special pastime with Srila Prabhupada, that after he took sannyas, there was a very blissful kirtan, and Srila Prabhupada came down from his Vyasasana, and he started to dance. Now, all of us knew that Srila Prabhupada was fairly advanced in age. At that time, I must have been 18 or 19 years old. Madhudvisa may be 1 or 2 years, a little bit older. And Prabhupada was dancing. He was doing the Swami step, where he would sway from one side to the other, put his hands in the air. And as the kirtan went on stronger and stronger, Prabhupada started to practically levitate. He started to jump very high. And I could see that this was like a mystic exhibition by Srila Prabhupada. And how I knew that is that when I was younger, I had been doing some athletics with high jumping and long jumping. And I knew that for a person of that age to be able to jump almost 36 or 40 inches off the floor was not a mundane event. This was a manifestation of mystic power that Srila Prabhupada was exhibiting. It was like very special. And I didn't realize this till many years later, until I read in Prabhupada's books that a pure devotee is endowed with all mystic perfection. Although he does not like to show them or exhibit them, I could see Srila Prabhupada was exhibiting this mystic perfection. So anyway, when I was in Badger, Madhudvisa, every week we would get together at least twice a week and read some of Prabhupada's books and discuss the meaning, the deep meaning of these books. And I was somewhat amazed, very amazed at the level, the depth of realization of this devotee. He had a lot of love for Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya, and very, very deep explanation of the teachings of Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Actually, it was our good fortune that such an associate of Srila Prabhupada was with us. I'm sure that Balaram Prabhu and other devotees in Australia who had the good fortune of associating with Madhudvisa and saw everything he accomplished even for a very brief period of time, for a few years in Australia, was quite amazing. Very, very amazing. So this is quite significant, because we saw also during the manifested presence of Lord Chaitanya, everywhere he went, by his powerful influence, he would make people into Vaishnavas. He would make people into Vaishnavas. This is very, very significant. He traveled all over South India by foot and preached. And everywhere he went, he influenced people to become devotees of Krishna. So this is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, that some way or other we've all been able to become involved in the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to distribute the teachings of the pure devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada. We all know the instruction of Srila Prabhupada to distribute his books. Now the question is why? Who is this person, Srila Prabhupada, who insisted to distribute that mercy of Lord Chaitanya to everybody? We know that Srila Prabhupada was not just a regular devotee or a regular guru or some person who came at the right place at the right time. He was much more than that. Much more than that. And it's up to us to dive very deep into his books, into his teachings, his instructions, his lectures, to comprehend in more depth the actual meaning of his mission. Anybody on this call or anybody you know should try to get some books of Srila Prabhupada, even smaller books, and distribute these books to everybody we can come in contact with. That was the desire of Srila Prabhupada. That was his mission, to distribute the teachings of Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. And what we can do is just trying to render some simple service, following in the footsteps of the great associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Vishwakarma, are you still on the call? I guess not.
Yes, I am. I just had some trouble with the internet here, so I went and reset the modem. Thank you very much for your explanation of this verse and the many verses that we did read, which give us insight into the reasons why Lord Chaitanya, thank you, Venkat Bhatta Prabhu, thank you. The reasons why Lord Chaitanya appeared in this world. And Prabhupada is, at the beginning of the introduction, he goes over the most important reasons. And then the secondary reason he highlights by telling us that therefore Lord Chaitanya appeared to fulfill these confidential desires and also to preach the special significance of chanting the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and to answer the call of Advaita Prabhu. These were secondary reasons. So it's not that they were not as important, but they reveal the various reasons why Lord Chaitanya did appear. And as we move forward in the reading, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami will explain all the reasons to us, and we will continue to study them. And they reveal the intimate relationship that Krishna is allowing us through Lord Chaitanya and Krishnadas Kaviraj and Srila Prabhupada to understand the more esoteric reasons why the Lord appears. So very confidential information. It's not something that can be easily understood by the neophyte devotee. And the essence of our philosophy is to understand Krishna's appearance, why he appears in this world. And I want to quickly refer Vinkat Bhatta Prabhu to the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 9, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvataha chaktva deham punarjanma naitimam eti sorjuna. So we'll just read the verse here. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So this is the essence of our mission as devotees, is to develop a level of Krishna consciousness which enables us to appreciate the work of Srila Prabhupada and the explanations that he gives concerning the appearance of Lord Chaitanya in this world. And so we'll just go down past the Eko Devo Nitya Lila Naruto Bhakta Vyapi Hriday Antaratma. The one Supreme Personality of Godhead is internally engaged in many transcendental forms and relationships with his unalloyed devotees. So the one we're referring to here, of course, is the Yuga Avatar, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we're part of his mission. The Vedic version is confirmed in this verse of the Gita personally by the Lord. He accepts this truth on the strength of the authority of the Vedas and of the Supreme Personality of God, and who does not waste time in philosophical speculations, attains the highest perfectional stage of liberation. Simply by accepting the truth on faith, one can, without a doubt, attain liberation. The Vedic version, Tattvamasi, is actually applied in this case. Anyone who understands Lord Krishna to be the Supreme, or who says unto the Lord, you are the same Supreme Brahman, the personality of God, it is certainly liberated instantly, and consequently his entrance into the transcendental association of the Lord is guaranteed. In other words, such a faithful devotee of the Lord attains perfection, and this is confirmed by the following Vedic assertion. So here we're in a particular situation where we're in the pastime of Srila Prabhupada. I thought one of the people in the chat had raised that question, since it was a secondary reason why Lord Chaitanya had appeared. It was a justification for not taking up the preaching work significantly. Well, this is just a neophyte point of view that these people, Prabhu, whoever he mentioned that in the chat, have taken, because we have to look at the life of our spiritual master for the example of how we should conduct our affairs. And the point is this: we follow in the footsteps of our spiritual master. That is as simple as it is. And we're reading these diaries, we're seeing he's sending out letters to all these important people. He's preaching every day. He's constantly doing programs. He's constantly selling books. He's spreading the glories of the holy name. Eventually, we're going to see him head out to Tompkins Squares Park in New York and start chanting publicly in the streets. And this led to the proliferation of the Sankirtan mission, which was his main focus, was to propagate and spread Krishna consciousness. And if one does this, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, then you can understand the transcendental nature of Lord Chaitanya's appearance and the appearance of our spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. Yaśodā, could you further comment, please?
I wanted to read a few statements from an article I compiled quite a few years back. It's called Srila Prabhupada Explains the Real Nature of the Form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And I quoted here a translation of a text that was written by Kavi Karnapur, one of the associates of Lord Chaitanya. I'll read the Sanskrit then the English. Sri Vrindavana Bhuvipura Sachidananda Sandru Goranga Bihi Sadrisharuchi Bihi Shyama Dhama Nanarta Tasam Sasvadritatara Pariramba Sambedatakim Gorangaha Sanjayati Sanavadvitam Malambamanaha. The dark complexioned Sri Krishna, whose form is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge, Sachidananda, formerly dense, with the golden complexioned gopis in the land of Vrindavana. By intently embracing them, he attained a golden complexion like theirs. In this golden form, he has now appeared in the town of Navadvip. This is from the Gaur Ganosha Dipika, text number 1. This was translated by a disciple of Srila Prabhupada named Shriman Kushakrata Das. Then there's another verse here from Prabodhananda Saraswati, who explains why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this world. Stumastam Caitanya-caritāmṛta Mativimaryada Paramad Bhutau Daryam Varyam Vrajapati Kumaram Rasayitum Vishuddha Svapramon Mada Madhura Piyusha Laharim Pradatum Chanibhyaha Parapada Navadvipa Prakatam. Let us glorify the boundless, merciful, Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Prince of Vraja, to taste the intoxicating sweet waves of the nectar of transcendental love for Krishna, as well as to give that nectar to others. He has now appeared in the transcendental abode of Navadvip as Lord Caitanya-caritāmṛta Mahaprabhu. This is from the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, chapter 1, text 1. So there's a lot of other verses in this article, but we will open the floor for comments and questions, and Hare Krishna.
Yes. Venkat Bhatta, could you read that question from that devotee? Let's see, it was preaching is for us in the external world is primary. Could you read that out for us? And we'll have a few people comment on that, give their answers. Could you read it, please? Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Dandavats to all Vaishnavas, to His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. Many Gaudiya Vaishnavas consider preaching secondary, quoting this verse of Caitanya-caritāmṛta, that preaching is a secondary purpose of Mahaprabhu's incarnation. Kindly guide.
Okay, we've got Janice Priya in Hawaii. Prabhu, could you possibly share an answer for us on this question and answer? I hope your microphone's working.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me okay, or is it sound weird?
It's a little muffled. Can you move the wire or your voice or the microphone around?
Yeah, let me fix this one first. Okay, how is that better?
It's almost bearable. Try a little bit more. We'll see if we can get a connection. I know it's a long way to Hawaii from Canada. No, anything?
Yeah, it's not working.
Okay, we'll go to Dharma Bhavana in Texas. Dharma Bhavana. What could you share as an answer for this question from our friend on the chat today? That the preaching, according to this quote, is secondary because the Lord Chaitanya's mission was wasn't his primary reason for appearing. Dharma Bhavana in Dallas. Microphone? Turn your mic on. Do you hear the mic?
Okay. Am I on now?
Yes, you are, Prabhu. Yes, you are.
Yeah. I was just thinking maybe in some, high philosophical way that may be correct, but it seems like to me, in a very practical way, we're supposed to just set a good example and be devotees. And since Prabhupada was always telling us to distribute books and just try our best to share whatever we can in a very natural way, it just seems that's the most down-to-earth way. And another devotee was commenting to me that if we don't do some kind of preaching work, we really aren't able to do sadhana either. We're not able to be devotees even on the sadhana platform. So that's another consideration.
Okay, excellent. Balaram in Australia, maybe you could share your understanding of that particular verse or of this question.
I'd like to just first comment, if possible, on the reference that Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu made to Madhavisa being in Australia. Is that possible? I can just speak quickly on that.
Why don't you give the answer first and then speak that? Go this way. Just answer the question for this Prabhu, and then you, by all means, you may speak on Madhavisa. Totally. Just give the answer what you think is the response to his question.
I didn't hear the question properly. I was doing something else here, so I came in at the end of the question. So you might like to just move on.
Oh, no, go ahead. Make your comment then for Madhavisa. Go ahead. That's fine. That's quite all right. Go ahead.
I would just say that Madhavisa Prabhu Swami at the time, he came in for a lot of criticism after he left the movement. And he did come back. But he was very instrumental in the preaching in the early days in Australia from 1972 when he arrived right through until 1976. So there were 4 very wonderful years there. He inaugurated the Rath Yatra in Australia in 1972, started the first Rath Yatra. And Dvaipayana Prabhu, who I think is also on the Zoom today, he was also very close to Madhavisa at the time. So I really appreciate the wonderful words. His kirtans were fantastic. Srila Prabhupada actually called his kirtan the Emperor of Kirtan. So I just wanted to thank Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu for the wonderful words there. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you. I think we could still go with the question. I'll read it out to you, Balaramji. Preaching for us in the external world is primary, but he was saying that because it wasn't a primary reason for Lord Chaitanya to appear, some people say that it's not important for us to preach. What would be your response for that?
No, that's their excuse. We're in a preaching mission. I mean, we're Rupanugas, and just we're hearing at the start of the class where we hear the glorification of Mahaprabhu. Namo Mahabandhanaya Krishna Prembadade Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaurtishe Namaha. So Rupa Goswami is glorifying Lord Chaitanya. Now, Srila Prabhupada also taught us the wonderful verse, Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam, Shtapitam Jena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kadamayam, Dadati Svapadandikam. Srila Prabhupada taught us to glorify Rupa Goswami, who established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya. So that is our mission. We're Rupanugas. Yes, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming, there was a primary, an internal primary mission, but the external mission for us that we follow is we're Rupanugas, and so therefore we follow the preaching mission of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya exhibited that preaching mission throughout the 48 years that he was here, and he exhibited that for us. So that's what we're following. There are so many different things that someone can make this or that according to how they want to twist things. So the Lord is absolute. So there's a primary mission, and there's a secondary mission, but we don't necessarily see it as one is better than the other, right? So Srila Prabhupada has given us the mission as neophyte devotees. You know, to think that we're some elevated, even understanding this section of Caitanya-caritāmṛta is very, very difficult. I mean, we've been practicing sadhana bhakti for what, 50 years or so. And still, this is very, very high elevated philosophy in Caitanya-caritāmṛta. And we're just scratching the surface of the Caitanya-caritāmṛta at this stage. You know, at that stage, we simply follow Srila Prabhupada's example. Sato brete, we follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. And that's the instruction that we're given. Rupa Goswami has given us utsahan nischaya deryat tat kama pravatanat sangatyaga sato brete sadbhya bhakti prasidyati. That the principle of advancing in devotional service is enthusiasm, to practice with confidence and be patient, right? Patient. Utsahan nischaya deryat, to be patient. So that, you know, you can take so many other things out of it, but that's what we are. We're following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, who followed in the footsteps of the previous acharyas.
Excellent.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we got through that. Let's, Dwaipana, you have your hand up. A Prabhupada disciple, also from Australia. You wanted to make a comment? Put your mic on, Prabhu, please.
Hello, Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Prabhu.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for that delightful, deep explanation, Yaśodā-nandana. I would just like to give my answer to the question.
Yes, please.
Because what we're talking about is the verse that one verse that Yaśodā-nandana read out was about Lord Chaitanya coming to distribute the holy name, distribute love of God. Now, if his primary reason was to experience the emotions of Radharani, and he wanted to understand those emotions. Now, that's his internal thing. That's very, very high. You know, it's not up to us to be able to understand something like that. You know, even in Prabhupada's time, there was groups of devotees getting together to talk about the pastimes of the gopis, Gopi Vava Club. Prabhupada smashed them and said, no. The primary reason for Lord Chaitanya's appearing is absolutely beyond our comprehension, actually. So therefore, it behooves us to participate in Lord Chaitanya's extreme benevolence in spreading free love of God through the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. And I've said this before, Lord Chaitanya was most magnificent incarnation because he freely distributed the holy name of the Lord. So to participate in Lord Chaitanya's mission means we also should freely give away that information, give away the holy name of the Lord, give away prasadam, and give away our realizations through preaching. So that's really where we're at. That's my understanding. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to our friend, had a wonderful conversation with my friend Garuda Prabhu, and I see he's been making a few comments. Maybe you could share a few comments in terms of that question for our group tonight. Are you there, Prabhu?
Yeah.
Excellent.
My pranams to all of you. Thank you, Yaśodā-nandana ji, for wonderful discourse, and your comments also, Vishwakarma ji. Since Mahaprabhu Gauranga is the paradigmatic Bhaktavatara, in a way he is the model for all bhaktas, And anyone who was with Prabhupada, and Yaśodā-nandana ji talks about Prabhupada's acrobatic feats in dancing, which I very much appreciated. I was not so acrobatically inclined when I was young, so I wouldn't know how to assess that. But, we all knew that so much was going on inside of Prabhupada. There is an internal life to every devotee. And then there's a way that gets expressed externally. So, and on the one hand, but I like what I think it was Dvaipayana, or maybe it was Balaram who said this, that it's not that one is better than the other. It's impossible to separate one's external devotional life from one's internal devotional life. In fact, the one usually reflects the other and the other the one. So Mahaprabhu gives us an example of the ideal paradigmatic bhakta. And this chapter that we're embarking on right now is absolutely the most exquisite piece of theology that our tradition offers. And it's extraordinary. And, later we'll read about how Mahaprabhu said all the world is enamored by Aishwarya. But I have come to establish Madhurya, this intimate connection. So this internalized bhakti that every bhakta has is something that gets then expressed and overflows into the external. And that's what Mahaprabhu exhibited. And frankly, in our little tiny ways, or I shouldn't speak for any of you, but my own little tiny eeny-weeny way of doing that does model that, but not anything obviously at the level of the ideal that Mahaprabhu Gauranga established. That's all I'll say right now.
Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate your comment. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, if you could further elaborate for us.
I think that there's a very important point here that we have to understand. The last two great acharyas, thank you very much, Garuda Prabhu, for your comments. It's very well taken. The last two great acharyas that we have seen, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and our Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, throughout their preaching missions, came at odds with various members of the Gaudiya Vaishnava community, particularly Radhakund Babajis, Kas Goswamis, Nityananda Vamshas, Advaita Vamshas, and various people who considered themselves the real practitioners of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, who had the real understanding of the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had big debates with Brahmins in Bengal over this particular issue. Srila Prabhupada also was very critical. I mean, actually, all of this came from Bhaktivedanta Thakur, who in his writings basically identified 13 apasampradayas, or deviated groups, who claimed to be followers, the true followers of Lord Chaitanya. What happened is that after the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya, various descendants of Advaita and Nityananda, called Nityananda Vamsha, Advaita Vamsha, claim that they had the real understanding of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching because they were born in the family of some of the descendants of Nityananda's son, and like that. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, following in the footsteps of his father, was very critical of those people in the Gaudiya Sampradaya that minimized the preaching of the mission in favor of this bhajananandi mentality. Prabhupada said it is best to be a Ghoshyanandi or engage in preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya. Otherwise, the whole thing turns into sahajya. I've often told that story that when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur went to Radhakund, he started to give lectures, and he was basing his lectures on the Upanishads. And many of the Babajis that have come to listen to him eventually said, well, he's just a jnani talking on the Upanishad. He's not a real bhakta of Lord Chaitanya. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur made the comment that these people do not live in Radhakund. they live in Narakakund. We all know that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also wrote a famous poem in which he criticized people engaging in their internal bhajan, reflecting on the confidential meaning of Lord Chaitanya, but with no preaching. And his criticism, what kind of Vaishnava are you? What are you doing for the mission of Lord Chaitanya? Srila Prabhupada also was very critical of that mindset. This bhajan mindset that I'm going to reflect. And because what happens is Prabhupada criticizes and say, if they do like this, the preaching will stop. Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta, following in the mood and the mission of Bhaktivedanta Thakur, made the preaching mission the essential aspect of their preaching. And this is very important. There is even a lecture where Prabhupada criticized the followers of Nityananda Vamsha, claiming that because we're descendants of Nityananda, they don't do any preaching, and they say, give me money because I'm affiliated with Lord Nityananda. Prabhupada, what is the use of this? Prabhupada was very, very upset with people that criticized his mission while they did not do any preaching. The same thing that happened with the Gaudiya mission after the disappearance of His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Because we've seen in our mission, in the ISKCON mission, that when the devotees departed from the preaching, the main emphasis on preaching, they would engage in some so-called special ecstasy or some special bhajan. They would gradually wither away. They would gradually fall off. Prabhupada was very famous as making a statement one time, work now, samadhi later. Because Prabhupada understood the importance of engaging in practical devotional service. Regardless if some of these devotees fell off or had problems, Prabhupada wanted to engage the devotees in practical service, and he knew that eventually they would be purified for taking that risk, taking that responsibility of preaching the mission. So there's an important distinction between many of these Bhajananandi groups and these different groups that claim to have a special understanding of Lord Chaitanya's mission with no preaching. Now, we have a phenomena right now of many people claiming that they're following Prabhupada, that they're preaching his mission, and they're changing his teachings. When they're changing the sacred books of Srila Prabhupada, that is changing the teachings. He made many instruction. He gave many instruction. Do not change my books. What did he do immediately after his departure? They started to change his books. I'm going to shut up right now because I know this is a very long subject, of which in the future we're probably going to have to dedicate a few special events just dedicated to this point. I've often given the example of the Madhva Sampradaya, where they designated one great scholar named Bananji Govindacharya, who was a topmost Sanskrit scholar, who had very great experience in the writings of Madhvacharya. And they delegated him to compile the definitive edition of Madhvacharya's writings. He wrote 37 books, and they wanted to have what's called a Mula Granta, the original writings of Madhva. Eventually in our movement, this is what we're going to have, a group of scholars and devotees that can compile what is the original books of Srila Prabhupada. Because right now we've got all kinds of concoctions going on, some of which, in my insignificant opinion, are very politically motivated. And I'm sure that Garuda Prabhu and many other people, Paranjan Prabhu, or Prabhus in Australia, they know very well Prabhupada didn't want this perpetual re-editing of his books. This grammatical embellishment project, this perpetual grammatical embellishment project is not the desire of Srila Prabhupada. Let me give one brief example before I shut up. In 1971, Guru Kripa Swami and myself, we went to Calcutta to the Bagh Bazar Gaudiya Math. This is the famous temple that Prabhupada said that his Guru Maharaj shall sell the marbles and print the books. That's that big, huge marble temple, a massive, opulent temple, 3 or 4 stories high, beautiful deities, all marble. we wanted to go there and buy some copies of the Brahma Samhita. So Guru Kripa found some devotee to show us some book room, and it was very dusty. You could tell this hadn't been open in many years. And we asked him to get us some Brahma Samhitas. So he pulled out a box, and there was some old Brahma Samhitas. He showed it to us, and we got like 10 copies. We gave him some money, and we came back to the temple and showed these books to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada looked at the book. He looked at the year of publication that had been published during the manifested presence of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he said, yes, this is authorized. This was done before the disappearance of my Guru Maharaj. Anything published afterwards, do not buy, because they started to edit and change his books. So that phenomena was also there after the disappearance of Bhaktisiddhanta. And we know this happened quite a bit. But this is a long discussion, which we will not avoid, which we will dedicate some special events in the future. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. And I wanted to say that I did have an extensive conversation with our godbrother, Garuda Prabhu, this week, and we had a wonderful discussion on the changing of Prabhupada's books and how we as a group, himself, myself, all of us in this call, are committed to working together to solidify Prabhupada's position as the bona fide spiritual master in his unedited books. And we're going to organize a conference. That's the plan in the future. And we'll keep everybody in the loop, let's say, in this matter. So we have a large, by the way, we have a very large agenda of work that we're tackling, as Vinkat Bhatta knows, who's working with us intimately, and a lot of other Prabhus. Bhaktivedanta Singh, as well in Sacramento, is doing a great job. All kinds of new people coming to us. I wanted to mention we have over 11,400 people on the Prabhupada Disciples Facebook page, group page. And we're constantly putting out information every day to that small network. And we have our classes on Krishna Consciousness movement on YouTube, which will be also a vehicle for us to reach out globally to people. We have almost 150 broadcasts. We're putting on events. We're planning a Vyas Puja festival in Sacramento at Ron's. And Yaśodā, by the way, everyone, lives near to Bhaktivedanta Singh. And I had no idea until I found out by questioning him recently, where do you live? And he said, Twain Harte. And I found out that when we did that initiation ceremony, that Ron Singh was only 2.5 hours from Yaśoda's house. So if you connect the dots, we've got a great team there of people that are preaching with Yaśodā Prabhu, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, going to be there as the special guest of honor at the Sacramento Vyas Puja celebration and the Janmashtami festival on the 7th and 8th of September 2023. So all kinds of events. We hope that all of you are organizing your own events, or if you want to have people over, we'll be broadcasting those events on our Zoom broadcasts. So we're pushing out on the local level, on the ground, and on the internet level worldwide with the Prabhupada Disciples Association. Yes, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please.
I was read here by Dharma Bhavana Prabhu. How can we submit our Vyasa Puja offering? Well, anybody can send. I'm muted. Okay.
You're all right. You're okay.
There was a question raised with regards to submitting Vyasa Puja offering. We're observing the Mayapur calendar. The Janmashtami will be observing on a Thursday, September 7th, and the Vyasa Puja will be on the Friday, September 8th. I will be in Sacramento at that time, but we're trying to gather as many offerings as we can.
Yes.
These can be submitted either to Vishwakarma Prabhu or myself at Yasoda1008 at yahoo.com. That's YASODA1008 at yahoo.com, or to Venkata Prabhu through the Prabhupada Disciples chat site. Send your offering. Even if you just want to say obeisance to Prabhupada, that's all. I mean, if you want to write 5 pages, 3 pages, 2 pages, your comments will not be edited or adulterated, guaranteed. Whatever you say, we will publish it. So this is important. Another point I want to raise, there's one of our devotees in South India, Ratayatra Prabhu, and his good wife. They're preaching in Tamil Nadu, and he's requesting, so if anybody wants to help with distributing some Tamil books, he's written on the chat here. He's got a WhatsApp number. He's trying to get some donations so they can print some local books. He knows how to get them done and get them distributed. I encourage everybody to try to help. Please contact Ratayatra Prabhu, either through Venkat or myself or Vishwakarma, and we'll make sure that he gets the necessary things. So it's very important. I want to reiterate here some of the points with regards to what we discussed today. I know there's a lot of different opinions, even within the mission of Srila Prabhupada, about the emphasis on preaching or emphasis on the bhajan and all this confidential stuff. Okay, that's very nice. But we do know for a fact that Srila Prabhupada emphasized that he wanted all of his disciples and followers and students to preach the mission, to distribute his books. He was the ambassador of Lord Chaitanya. He was the authorized representative of Lord Chaitanya. And we encourage everybody to distribute these books. That will be wonderful progress for his mission. Hare Krishna.
Yes, just before we wind up, in regards to the Vyas Puja book that we're going to be presenting on Amazon, so it's on the Kindle? What is the
Kindle?
published?
Yeah, Kindle.
So what we're going to do is we're going to put some chapters in at the beginning, or some articles from different devotees, like on the Vani incarnation, on the change of books, on our philosophy in terms of initiations, different interesting aspects of our focus on Prabhupada as Diksha Shiksha Guru in essence for us. And so if anybody is interested in submitting an article for us at the beginning of the book, that'll also be good, so that everybody that's reading it all fits together as a grand group of people, devotees like ourselves, who have the same focus and the same purpose, is to preserve Prabhupada's legacy in all its aspects. So another very good project for us. And I think in due course of time, it's like anything that you start, Agaruda. You start, and then after you start it, the next year you can do it better. It might be all right this year, but next year it'll be a lot better, and the following year a lot better, and we'll build on our successes. That's how we're going to move forward as a group. So thank you, everyone, for your participation. It was a really good turnout tonight. It's like Prabhupada had more than 10 people or 5, so we're following in Prabhupada's footsteps and carrying on his mission as best as we can. So we'll go to the Kirtan now by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda from the 60s. So enjoy, chant along, and relish the Sankirtan mission in your local area. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Thanks everybody for participating. Ratha Yatra in South India, all Bhaktaran from Sacramento, everybody on this call. Thank you so much for participating. All glory is to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Bol, Hare Bol.